Hey guys, and welcome to
Roar of the crowd, stamp your feet to the sound.
So this week I did something a little different. I watched NXT as it aired live on the network. Really enjoyed that. It was brilliant to see what people were saying on Twitter and be able to add my own little comments as the show was progressing, and what a fantastic show as well. Really not a weak match on the card. I said it in my initial reaction last night that I thought the Hype Bros were probably the weakest part of it, but you know, even they weren't offensive by any means. They still put on a good paced match, and there were still a few spots that looked quite interesting. But I wanted to just go through it all in a little bit more detail than what we did last night, and also just talk about some of the rumours and rumblings that are coming out of NXT since we last looked at the product. So the show starts with Sami Zayn, who came out and said basically that he had come up short and that he hadn't been in a fight but had been in a war with Samoa Joe. He was gracious in defeat, you know, no problems with him not being the #1 contender, but he said that for him and for everything he'd done, he really wanted to have a big match. Regal came out, said that he deserved that match, and this was the first glimpse we got of Nakamura. It was shot on a phone. They did it well. I like how the screen was all static and everything, and you're waiting and waiting and waiting, and then bang, he appears, and you know, he's I said it on Twitter, when it first opens up, it's like he's staring into nothing. He's staring at a white wall, and then he turns around and starts talking. It's like, what did we just interrupt? What was he just doing? It literally looks like he was just watching paint dry. It was a little bit bizarre. And that wall that he was staring at as well is the same wall that we see later on in the Austin Aries promo. I haven't got a problem with any of this. I just thought it was quite funny. Couldn't make out what Nakamura had said at the time, but have watched it back. And basically he says NXT, Sami Zayn, Nakamura is coming to Dallas to take over. Nothing more exciting than that, unfortunately. But it did the job. Great opening segment. The match was made. Sami Zayn against Nakamura. And, well, the main thing, I suppose, is that TakeOver Dallas just looks 1,000 times better than what WrestleMania does in Dallas. The WrestleMania card has got New Day versus League of Nations in a match that this will be the third time we will have seen it. It's got Ryback going up against Kalisto in a big man versus little man match, which no one wants to see. You've got the Usos going up against the Dudley Boyz. Dudley Boyz that are just well past their prime. They're just not getting any heat. And the Usos, for me, has kind of run its course, or at least they need some fresh feuds. And maybe that's what the Dudley Boyz were meant to be, but it's not doing it for me. So those matches, as well as the fact that we're having Reigns forced down our throat, and as well as the fact that Shane doesn't look convincing, certainly not when cutting a promo, and the punches that he's been throwing haven't looked... I know he's been training hard. I've seen the footage of him training hard, but yeah, I'm starting to worry. The more I think about it, the more I'm worried about WrestleMania. I don't think they're going to be able to save and answer all of the concerns, and in fact the matches that have been made since are more concerning. You look at that compared to Dallas TakeOver, and the fact that you've got Nakamura, one of the biggest free agents, wasn't really a free agent I suppose, but one of the biggest indie... Was he an indie wrestler? God, I don't know how you'd describe him. One of the biggest wrestlers in the world. Making his debut against Sami Zayn, who's one of the hottest properties that WWE have, let alone NXT. He's been making waves up on the main roster. And as well as that, you've got Finn Balor on the card going up against Samoa Joe. This will be the second time we see this. So it's not the greatest main event, but Joe has been booked really well. And, it's been long enough since that TakeOver London match that this has got a lot of intrigue to it. I'm very excited to see how that builds. The debut of Austin Aries going up against Baron Corbin as well. So you've got two people debuting, but both are massive, massive names. And then on top of that, for me, out of everything, the cherry on top, Bayley versus Asuka. I say it's the cherry on top. It's hard to look past that Zayn Nakamura match, isn't it? But Bayley, Asuka. Asuka just hasn't been challenged since she's been there, and Bayley, I think, is the person that can do that. Bayley's someone that has been there, got the t-shirt, has had a good reign as the women's champion. I think she's been putting on good matches. These two girls have been carrying this division largely. Emma's been chipping in, obviously. Dana's been injured for quite a while. Nia Jax has just had a couple of moments, and then you've just got a lot of talent coming through. So these two girls that have carried this division going head to head is absolutely fascinating. Really can't wait for that. So yeah, bring on TakeOver Dallas. It's looking like a fantastic card. Obviously later as well, we find out American Alpha are the #1 contenders. So it's going to be American Alpha against the Revival. I'll be honest, I don't know if this is a Dallas takeover match or if they're going to do it sooner than that. I'd imagine it will make it on the takeover Dallas card. They could have announced it. I could have missed it, but yeah, that's quite tasty as well. Alpha are just hot, red hot. So yeah, good. I'm on board. After the Hype Bros match then, which I don't want to dwell on any more than we have, it was Emma against Deanne Perazzo. Really into Deanne Perazzo. She seems to be quite comfortable when cutting a promo. There was a backstage segment that was really strong between these girls. Dana saying she doesn't deserve the pat on the head, and then she ends up giving her the pat on the head. Perazzo is kind of standing her own. You can tell that she's not a veteran, but she's definitely experienced. And I think someone mentioned before that she's been in TNA and whatnot. I've said before I don't know much about her background, but I like what I'm seeing in NXT. She just needs a few spots. Like, her offense just wasn't there against Emma. I wanted to see a more vicious side to Perazzo. Certainly after that backstage segment where just kind of you wanted the chains to be off and for her to go, and just didn't really get that. But her work is crisp. It's she always puts on a good match. I'm never sat there going, oh, what's she done that for? So Emma did some, there was an Emma sandwich that was just brutal. And she ends up putting her in the Emma lock for the win. Emma's being booked really strong. I would like to see Emma Perazzo on the takeover card. I think that there could be a place for that. I'm not sure how they're going to get Eva or Nia onto the card unless they make this some kind of a triple threat or something, and that could be cool, or a fatal four-way, but you'd only have one face then in Perazzo. So I don't know. I don't really see where they're going with it all, but I'm just kind of enjoying it as it's going along. Next we had Chomper against Sorensen. Chomper clearly was told, you've got a few minutes, mate, go and do what you can. Just went out there, just vicious beatdowns. He was a real ball of energy. It was great to see. I really want to see a match against him and Gargano. I'm a massive fan of Johnny Gargano. His match against Baron Corbin a few weeks back was still in my mind. It was absolutely brilliant. That I want to see what more they can do with Johnny Gargano, and I'm into Tommaso Ciampa, but I don't know why, but I've got a real appetite to see them two go at it. It's worth mentioning as well that the armbar that Ciampa wins with, really cranks it back. Again, I keep using that word, but it looked vicious. I remember tweeting at the time saying I'd love to see him go in a match against Elias Sampson and slap that armbar on. The guy will never be able to play guitar again. It looked brutal, but it was effective, and it was ones to watch. Heard from Austin Aries. Didn't really have much to say. I was a little disappointed with the promo actually, and he was just kind of talking about how he'd earned his contract, whereas Baron Corbin had just been given one, and he was gonna, Corbin was gonna get his comeuppance basically at Dallas, and it was a largely forgettable promo. Then we had Bayley and Asuka against Eva and Nia Jax. And I remember saying, why is this not on TakeOver Dallas? This has been building to this for a couple of weeks. Granted, we've ended up with a better match at TakeOver Dallas, but it's just a little bit bizarre to me because this had been, you know, a nice build. The match itself was cool. Right decision in Bayley and Asuka picking up the victory. Eva was the one that took the pin, which was brilliant. And watching Asuka go to town on Eva was so satisfying. There's a lot of hate for Eva Marie, and I'm definitely at the forefront of that group. But God, you do enjoy seeing her get the shit kicked out of her, or I do anyway. So on that regard, she's probably the best heel that WWE have. And then, as we said, we got the American Alpha emerging victorious at the main event. I kind of questioned this at the time as to why this was headlining this and not the Bayley Asuka Nia Jax match. And Eva Marie, obviously, so I just forgot about her. Because it felt like that Divas match had a better build than just this, you know, number one contenders tag match. But it was a great match. They didn't get, you know, masses of time. They had a little bit of time to build the match up. So there was a few submission holds and whatnot, and rest holds at the start of it, and then it gathered pace. But once it hit its pace, it was really, really good. How the match was being brought together. Gotch, I remember, kicked to the back of Gable's head. It looked quite vicious. There was belly to bellies. Great power bomb from Gable onto English as well. And as I said, you know, it was just pretty good, fast paced. You know, straps coming down from Jordan. They still got in their usual spots and whatnot. And American Alpha emerged victorious. As I said, I missed if that's going to be a match Alpha against the Revival, if that'll be a takeover or not. But that is, yeah, you know, I can see American Alpha picking up the titles. Maybe not first time of asking, but I should imagine there'll be a rematch somewhere down the road. It'd be disappointing in truth if they got it first time of asking, because I think that the Revival need to be built up even more. They're great, but they're not show off, and so they need a good title run to, you know, justify them, if you will. Talking of the Revival, they've been doing a lot of house shows with Enzo and Big Cass, so it looks as though they're getting Enzo and Big Cass ready for the next stage, the call-up, which really can't be far away. If it was, they would have took the titles, but they don't need the titles. I think it was the right call. I just hope that we don't have to wait too long to see Enzo and Cass. Maybe the next night of Raw after WrestleMania. Brian Ward, who is the NXT writer, I don't know if he's the head writer, has been moved up to SmackDown. Apparently he does a lot when it comes to the consistency of the storylines. So it's a different beast, though. I just don't think he's going to have success on SmackDown, because you've got injuries, you've got, you know, wrestlers that are touring. You've booking is harder than what people think, because you don't always have everyone at your disposal. It could be that you have a different set of wrestlers every single week. Well, how are you going to form a storyline with that? Yeah, you can request certain wrestlers, but it's very difficult if they're injured. Or if they are booked into, you know, on a different tour to change direction. It can be done, but, you know, you have to weigh it up against... I should imagine if they want a certain wrestler to go and get it signed off, we need this guy off this tour, we need him put him on this because we're going to do this storyline. If it's not a major storyline, I should imagine that it just doesn't happen. Garzo Jr. was seen at the Performance Center, and it's thought that he is there for the Cruiserweight tournament. I think we'll see quite a few names like that from the kind of indie scene, if you will, cropping up as we get closer to this Cruiserweight tournament, which I think is running in the summer, just after WrestleMania, like May, June time. Kada is being watched as well by NXT as they're looking for that Cruiserweight talent. They want talent from Mexico, from Asia, from the UK and Europe. They're looking to really spread their reach. Cool, that's everything NXT wise. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget you can follow me on Twitter at Wrestling Days UK. If you haven't subscribed already, then it'd be crazy if you did. I'd really appreciate it, because there's videos coming out all the time. And I'll see you again NXT time. Thanks for watching. Bye.